Welcome to another episode of the 412 podcast. My name is Jeremy Davis. I'm the Associate Pastor at FBC Mustang and your host for another episode of the 412. We're so glad that you've joined us. Before we get started, we have a few dates that I want to announce and just make sure that you are aware of. We have our Men's Institute interest meeting coming up. That is on Sunday, April 23rd at 4 p.m. You're going to be able to find out more about our 2-year Bible training program for men here at our church, and that is open to any man here in the Oklahoma City area. You do not have to be a member of our church to attend. And likewise, we also have the Ladies' Night of Theology coming up on May 2nd. It is 6:30 to 8:30, and again, that is open to anybody in this Oklahoma City area. We have people coming from all over to join us. So any lady in the area, please come and join us on May 2nd. And then after that event, there will be a Ladies' Night of Theology after hours. So that'll be in our youth center right after the event, just a time of fellowship and just getting to know other ladies. And then we also have Steve Lawson will be coming to do his conference, the Institute of Expository Preaching. That's August 28th through 30th. And if you'd like to know more about that event, you'll have to go to onepassionministries.org and go check that out. Well, we have Mr. John Brewer and Joey Snodgrass on the show today. So, guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're back. You guys are both veterans to the show at this point.
We are the favorites, I'm told.
Yeah, that's right.
Back by popular demand.
So on today's episode, we're going to be talking about a recent Passion Choir mission trip. So just briefly, John, tell us, what is the Passion Choir?
The Passion Choir is our student choir here at the church, designed for our 6th through 12th grade students. Yeah. So it's for any middle school and high school student that want to be a part. Not auditioned, just come on.
Very good. And yeah. Joey, I know I've asked you this on a previous episode, but why is it that you want to take students on mission trips? Why is that important?
I think it's good to orient them to the purpose of why the church exists. We don't exist as just a vacuum of learners, but to spread God's glory to the ends of the earth. Yeah. And so I think students should be involved in that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really good. And this isn't the only mission trip opportunity they have. There's a number of those through the year, correct?
Yes. So years past, we've taken a middle school mission trip. John leads the Passion trip every year, and then we'll be taking more trips this summer.
Okay, very good. So, John, why is it that you do specifically have a mission trip that is based around music and a choir singing? What is the purpose behind that?
What I love about a music mission trip is that when music is being used as a platform, it affords you an audience that you wouldn't otherwise normally have. Right. And it allows for large group participation in sharing the gospel and just taking the gospel outside the walls of the church. And so, for example, it just depends on the city that we go to, but oftentimes they'll allow us to come into like juvenile detention centers. Okay. That'd be really hard to take 90 people into a juvenile detention center to do an organized effort if you don't have a platform like music as a framework. Yeah. Same thing in some public places. Like we did a concert on this past trip just out in a shopping center. We can take kids and have them, go around and try to engage people in conversation. But when you use music, it has a way of drawing in a crowd, has a way of bringing down some walls of defense. When they see students singing, they're more likely to stop and listen. Mm-hmm. And so those are just a few reasons why I think it's fun to take kids out on a music mission trip specifically. Yeah. So,
is this your largest mission trip that you guys take?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so.
Do you think there's a relationship between that music and the number of students that actually go?
I think there's a relationship in the sense that this mission trip is unlike any other one. Okay. So because of what music is able to do and the types of places and ministries you're able to get involved with, it makes it a very unique mission trip. But what I am proud of within our group is even in the semester when we're not taking a trip, the group is still just as strong, numerically speaking. And so it kind of shows that they're not necessarily only participating to go on the trip or that they're not just in it for only the music, so either way they're committed to the process, I guess.
Yeah. So now both of you guys obviously go on the trip. Both of you guys are both very involved. Joey, you were doing some back-to-back traveling. Did you go straight from LA to Kansas City? How'd you do it?
So I flew in from LA, landed in Oklahoma City at like midnight, and then the next afternoon around 3, I drove out to Kansas City.
Okay, all right. So that's a lot of going.
Yeah.
That's that just speaks to Lacey, really.
Yeah. Well, at least I got a scenic drive on the way through northern Oklahoma and Kansas. A lot of stuff to see.
There you go. How funny. Okay, so how did you guys end up going to Kansas City? What's the process for deciding where you're going to go on the mission trip?
I wish it was a more spiritual answer, but it's really not. It's just a matter of, I've come to the conclusion that, any place that we pick, there's going to be lost people and there's going to be ministry opportunities. And so I try to pick locations that would be somewhat interesting to our kids, maybe a place they haven't been to since they've been a part of the group. And then it just largely depends on, are there places in that city that can house us? Yeah. And then once we can find a place that can house us, then we start trying to narrow down ministries that we can jump in and be involved with. May not be the best model, but it is the current one. Yeah. And so we just try to find places in the surrounding states or areas that we can generate a little bit of interest in.
So obviously there are lost people here in Oklahoma City, but what is a benefit to going to another place that's unknown? Why is that helpful, especially for students, to get to go and do missions in a different place that's not their home?
Yeah, I think there's some barriers that come down. And, John always talks about the Passion Mission Trip with our students of saying we're intentionally doing things on these trips that we can do back in Oklahoma City. And so it's not as if we're offering something that's exclusively gotten on the Passion Trip. We're trying to show students, and John is trying to show students, that these are needs we're meeting in Kansas City this year that we also have in Mustang and Oklahoma City, right? That we can always live on mission and help fulfill. So it kind of brings down some barriers because there's no one we know typically that we run into in Kansas City. And so there's a little bit of anonymity that brings some confidence out of our students in particular. And so I think that's helpful, but it also helps demonstrate like, oh wow, there are needs like this. Like this isn't different from Oklahoma City, that we're serving in. And so I think John does a great job of leading this trip and helping our students see some of those things and pointing that out to them.
Yeah, that's great. So tell me a little bit about the trip. What does your schedule look like? Kind of what is going on while you're on the trip in Kansas City?
Yeah, we really just try to keep them as busy as possible because teenagers that are idle is never a good thing. So we try to find things for them to do throughout the whole day. And so oftentimes we'll break up our day into blocks of time, like you have the morning, afternoon, and evening blocks. And really, we don't necessarily have to stay with one ministry for the whole day. Yeah. Sometimes it works out that way, and sometimes we're seeing multiple ministries across the day. Mm-hmm. But we typically leave, in the 8 o'clock hour in the morning and not getting back until 8 or so in the evening, and just have them doing as many different types of things as we possibly can, try to pack it in there, make it worth their while. Yeah. And so we try to schedule as many different types of ministries as we can so that we're not just pigeonholed into a work project week, or that we're just doing and interacting with the same people every day, doing the same thing. There's nothing wrong with those types of models. But for this, with as many students as we have, we want to give them a wide range because there's going to be some things that really excite some kids that won't excite the others, and then vice versa. And so some people love homeless ministry and they love getting to interact with that demographic. And you have some students that they absolutely love being at the nursing home. Yeah. And they love engaging with those. And then some they have a teacher's heart and they love interacting with kids, know. And so, and then you do have some people, their favorite thing to do is pick up trash, so we just, if you went on a trip and all you were doing was trash cleanup for the week, you would kind of alienate the passions of some of the others. Yeah. And I think it would be, over the long haul, would make the trip less likely for people to jump onto.
Well, and without these opportunities, these students probably don't participate in any of those things. So they never know that they do enjoy getting to serve in that way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it may light up something in them that they didn't know was there.
Right.
And then that's good, so that when they come back here or when they have some more freedom in the future, they go off to college and can invest their time, they'll have a context of ways that they can plug into
that's great.
into ministry.
Very cool. How many students did you take on this trip?
We took 73 students.
73. Yeah. 6th grade through 12th?
Yeah, we had 48 high schoolers and 25 middle schoolers, and then a dozen or so adults on top of that.
That's incredible. Are you threatening them to join, Joey, or like what's happening?
Yeah. I'm not going to say what I'm threatening them with.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. No, that is so unique to our church in 2023 to have that many junior high and high school students a part of a choir, much less a church choir. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I think that's testament to John and his ability to kind of give them a vision for that. Passion's unique. Like you going back to asking if this was the biggest trip that the youth group takes, and yes, it is. And it's unique because Passion, this is the main thing they do each year, but it's not built around the trip. Like they have a whole extra semester in the fall that there's no trip happening in. And so our students are coming for the trip. Not every one of them's a musician. And I wasn't when I was in it as a student, but they're there because they enjoy the fellowship. They enjoy learning about music and learning how they can serve others through that. So
that's pretty incredible. So what activities, what were they actually doing each day on the trip?
So we left here on a Sunday, right after one of our morning services, and we drove straight to the Baptist Children's Home, one of the Baptist Children's Home that they have in Missouri. In addition to some children that were there, they were mostly actually teenagers. In addition to those was a group of adults with special needs. They were high-functioning adults with special needs, and so they have a program there. And so we did a concert for the combined groups that were there present on campus. And then on Monday, we partnered with a place called the Kansas City Dream Center. They had some cleanup projects for us to do on campus and then also at a homeless camp that just needed some much needed attention. So we split up our group, did that afternoon. We did what they called Adopt a Block and Kids Jam. Adopt a Block was we were just kind of serving as the arm of reaching out from the Kansas City Dream Center, touching base with people that they had already made contact with, see what needs they had, if there was anything that we could be doing for them or that the ministry could be doing for them. But we were also simultaneously doing something called Kids Jam, which is kind of like VBS wrapped up into 2 hours, with crafts and games and music and stuff like that for neighborhood kids. And so that was largely what we did on Monday. Tuesday, we partnered with a ministry called Avenue of Life. Did some stuff there on campus to help them get more organized, did some cleanup stuff around their campus. And then that evening we split into 2 different concerts, did one concert at a rescue mission for women and family children. And the other group went and did a concert for the nursing home. And I actually missed on Monday night, we did a concert at the men's rescue mission downtown. Okay. And then those were 2.5 days of ministry there. And then Wednesday, we did some free day activity stuff. And then that evening did a public concert at a shopping center.
Oh, cool.
Then had dinner and headed back that next day.
Very cool. So just for you guys personally, what was your favorite ministry opportunity you had while you were there?
I really liked Avenue of Life, which we did on Tuesday morning. And so they're kind of ministering in this low-income neighborhood. So we're able to, like John said, help around the facilities. They've got a lot of classes that go on there, from English language to how to get a job, just various things like that, trying to minister to the community they're in. And we had 3 girls that sing a song called The Commission, and they're incredible singers. Yeah. And after they were done at Avenue of Life, this one guy from the back says, "All right, CD." That was just a funny memory.
We had done a concert there that morning. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So, John, what was your favorite ministry opportunity?
I do love the rescue mission environments. Yeah. I think outside of juvenile detention centers, those are my favorite to be in. There is a desperation in those people that is kind of fertile ground for gospel presentation. It doesn't mean that every person's receptive, and it doesn't mean that every person that shows interest is receptive for the right reasons. Yeah. But they're just kind of really at their lowest point, which, as we can all testify, that's often where we kind of get to the end of ourselves and start truly evaluating our need for the Lord in every area of our life. Yeah. And so I enjoyed the men's mission, but I really enjoyed the women's center when there were kids there, and I enjoyed taking that group and just ministering in that way. So I often will tell Aaliyah that's kind of where I feel most alive, is environments like that.
Right.
So.
Okay, so lining up all of these opportunities for these students to go and serve, there's obviously a lot of moving parts. What does that process look like of finding all of these? Do you have a mission trip travel agent, or how does that work exactly?
Yeah, his name's John Brewer. We should give him a raise. It's a process, man, and it's hard because a lot of these places, they don't necessarily have their schedule and calendar in place until January for the spring. Right. So when you try to plan the fall, it's very hit or miss. And the hard part with our group size, it makes it really easy for them to say no. Yeah. And so I had called over 40 different ministries and nonprofit organizations in the preparation process. We contact churches in the area, see who they partner with, and there's a whole host of ways that we reach out and try to get ministry locations secured. But then you just kind of see who's willing, who's interested, what days would be available, and then it becomes a puzzle. Trying to figure out how you can fit their needs and their schedule with what you already have lined up and with the holes that you have in your own schedule. Right. It's always stressful. I always think it's never going to happen. It's never going to come together, and it always comes together. And praise the Lord for that. Yeah. And so that's kind of the process. A lot of churches will they have their staples, and they know who they're going to work with from year to year. And that's probably a model we'll eventually move to, because it'll be a lot easier to plan that way. But again, we just try to give them as many different types of places. So I'm calling all types of ministries. So
when you go, and I can remember this even back when I was going to Passion mission trips, it's not all mission serving oriented. There are also opportunities to have fun and have a good time while you're on the trip. So what are some of the fun things you guys did while you're on the trip?
So each night, we're staying just at a church in their youth room, and so they've got ping pong tables and foosball tables and a gym and things like that. So a lot of us got to play basketball both nights, and there's constant ping pong competitions going on between me and John mostly, but the students get into. Yeah. And so there's just a bunch of there's not a ton. There's a couple hours each night where we can just kind of hang out and unwind and spend time together laughing and just having fun. Okay. So those are some of the regular things that are in the schedule.
It's also where we had a broken foot on the first night there.
I heard.
Was in the basketball. But yeah, we do that, and then we try to give them some free day opportunities. In the spring, you're kind of limited in terms of what type of parks and theme parks and stuff are open. Yeah. You're kind of in the in between of outdoor sports, and so. It just depends on where we are as to what we're able to provide. Right. But we ended up taking them to several museums, actually, and gave them the option to go. There's a World War I museum, which is pretty incredible. They had a science museum, and one other that they had the opportunity to choose from. And then we went up to Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, and they have a library, Spurgeon's library there, which you had actually recommended. I'm very grateful. It ended up being a highlight for a lot of our kids.
That's cool.
And our kids are unique in that way. They love those type of things. And they went to the bookstore on the seminary campus and spent way more money in that store it's probably seen in one day. Did that, and then gave them an opportunity to shop and blow their parents' money on that afternoon.
Absolutely.
Lots of Build-A-Bears were made. And so those are some things that we did.
Right. That's so funny you say that, because as you're saying Build-A-Bear, I'm pretty sure I did a Build-A-Bear on a Passion mission trip.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. As a young person. How funny.
You didn't have to share that.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's out there now. Well, the Wednesday following that trip, I walked into the youth room here for Elevate, and there were like 50 Midwestern Seminary T-shirts. I was like, wow, this is like an infomercial.
Does Samuel you have yours on today?
Yep.
Yeah,
check it out.
Nice.
Yeah, he's got the sweatshirt on right there. How funny. Okay, so best food in Kansas City that you had while you were there?
Oh, that's tough. I'll have to think for a second.
Okay.
I ate at a burger place that was pretty good, but I can't remember what the name of it was. It was in the little outlet mall we went and ate at for lunch.
Yeah, Kansas City's known for its barbecue, and so one of our last meals, they had a chance to choose because we couldn't take all of them into one place. So
right.
It was like Buffalo Wild Wings, Red Robin's Burgers, and then one was a barbecue place.
Yeah.
And that's the place that I chose, and that was really good.
Did you have the burnt ends?
No.
What'd you have?
It was some kind of sandwich of the name and all the ingredients of which escaped me. I think I took a picture of it.
Okay. All right. Very good.
But it was good.
You can come find John and look at the picture if you really want to know about it. So, Joey, there was a pretty funny story that happened on the trip. And I know that I've heard the story. I know there's a lot of people that want to know the story. This is the perfect opportunity for you to share that story of scaring teenagers to death.
So a little bit of background info. The junior boys are in my heart. They have a special place in my heart. They're also known for pranking. They inherit it from some of their older siblings.
And how many of them are on this trip, do you think?
Probably
like a dozen?
12, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. So probably 12 junior guys on this trip. So back at Falls Creek last year, they're supposed to be going to bed. It was like 1 a.m. They all brought dozens of glow sticks and started throwing them everywhere in the dorm. So I made them do push-ups for like an hour. And I said, if that ever happens again, I'll send you home. And I got wind that they'd brought glow sticks on the passion trip, and we're plotting. And so I went up to him before I got in the shower one night and said, I heard you've got glow sticks. If that's the case, then you're going home. And I went and took a shower, came back, there were glow sticks everywhere in my bed. And I lay down, and they immediately come up to me, and they're like, John told us we could do it if we cleaned them up. And I just stared at them while they cleaned them up. And they went and laid down, and I walked up to them a few minutes later and said, what did I tell y'all? And they said, well, John said we could. I was like, no, what did I tell you? Like, not to do it. I said, no, what were my words? I said, if you do this, you're going to go home. I was like, all right, enjoy your last night of passion. And then I went to bed, got a full 8 hours. I don't think they did. And
the best part before you continue on that, he made him come clean it up. And he just laid there in his bed, and they were all in his bed and in his luggage, and he would just like lift a leg, and they would have to grab him out from, and he just stared at him the whole time.
So they wake up the next morning, they're like, oh yeah, that was funny. Like, you got us. I was like, oh no, you're going home. And so all day it just kind of continued to build, and we had a kid throw up, and I started feeling guilty because I thought he did it out of anxiety. It wasn't the case. It was bad Go-Gurt. But, so even some parents got in on it. Yeah. So one of the moms texted their son and said, Joey called me. Hope it was worth it. I'm on my way. And which struck fear into his heart. And so all day I'm just like kind of continuing this on. I make them pack up their bags, deflate their air mattresses, and go out into this breezeway. I was going to send them outside, but they'd set the alarm. We didn't have the code. And so they were in this breezeway kind of like locked in, all 12 of them with all their stuff. And someone called it the Idiot Aquarium. That was anonymous. And so they're out there for like 20 minutes. And then I go out and talk to them. I'm like, okay, are you ever going to prank me again? I literally will send you home next time. So that's the ins and outs of it. Everyone was like freaking hilarious. Out and thinking I was actually sending them home.
Well, what's funny is on the other end of it, so I'm at a wedding while you guys are in Kansas City, and I had just officiated. We sat down for the reception, and one of the parents of one of the students on the trip are texting their mom, panicking because they can't believe I don't know what the junior boys have done, but they've done something, and Joey's sending them all home, and she was brokenhearted over it. It's hilarious. So I was catching the other end, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Like something bad happened on the trip.
Well, and to be clear, lest there be any confusion about conflicting leadership here, when they came and asked me if they could do it, they said, Joey said we cannot throw glow sticks at him. They said we're not going to throw them at him. We're just going to put him in his bed. And so I took that. I said, so you're not going to throw it, like that's what he was mad about last time. They said yes. I said, so you're not going to throw him at him. They said no. I said, I'm sure it'll be fine. It wasn't fine.
Which worked out way better.
Oh, yeah, works out better.
Yeah.
So then they were going to John, like, is he actually mad? John was like, if Joey's upset, then you're in trouble.
Like, do you think he's going to do anything? I say, if he's upset with you, you probably
hilarious.
should be concerned. So.
Oh, that's too funny. Oh my goodness. Okay, so all the junior boys scared. You had some good food. You did some good ministry. What is a personal highlight for each of you from the trip as we finish up?
You know, I think just each year the impact on me is just seeing our students have joy in serving and just understanding that one of the reasons, like Christ calls us to deny ourselves, and that is kind of viewed bitterly sometimes by us as an unpleasant task. But what we find is that as we sacrifice our time and money for things like this, that our joy is actually made full. And so it gives us a higher capacity for joy in serving others. And I always hope that comes back home to the walls of our church and even our schools.
That's great.
Yeah, it's always just a shot in the arm, I think, for me and for the kids, because you get so wrapped up in your in and out routine here, all the stuff that you have to do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And then that leads you just kind of to a spirit of complacency and sometimes even a lack of gratitude. Yeah. And so when they're having to pick up a whole mound of trash in a homeless camp where people are having to sleep, and when they're looking out and seeing children that are having to stay in a shelter, with their parents, it puts a little bit more, it kind of reorients their perspective, and you can see that shift. And I'm always grateful for that, and it's good in my own life, and pray that it's good in theirs. And so that's one of the privileges for me, is to be able to kind of see that happen in just a few days.
That's great. Well, as we wrap up, can we finish with the lightning round?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Okay. So this first question is going to test your loyalty to the show and to me as your brother in Christ. But we'll start with Joey. What's your favorite 412 episode so far?
I don't know if I can choose just one. This is a terrible lightning round for me. I enjoyed Michael's one on hermeneutics.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
And the ones I was on I thought were kind of fun. But
always. John, what about you?
Yeah, I liked the Shepherds one, mainly because the format was different.
Yeah.
You had some live interview stuff and some things that were actually taking place in the moment instead of just talking in hindsight,
right.
And so, and then obviously I wasn't able to go on that trip, so just getting to hear some stories from you guys was great.
Yeah.
Made me a little sad, but it was fun.
So what is your favorite date night restaurant?
Probably for us, it would be Longhorn if we're going a little fancier.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we're going like fancy, like this is our anniversary, Michael kind of got us hooked on mahogany.
Okay.
But that we can't do that very often. So, that wouldn't be like a regular date night. It has to be a very special date night.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You guys actually, John got us hooked on Clark Crew.
Oh yeah,
that's where we end up going all the time now.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Okay, last question is: what is something you do as a pastor here that very few people know you actually do?
This is not like a big time spender for me.
Sure.
But every Wednesday afternoon, I call All American and place the exact same order of pizza that I have for the last 4 years. I'm like, I just want to call and say, hey, it's Joey. I'll just,
Yeah.
Give me the regular.
Yeah. There you go. Same order every Wednesday. So that's something people have no idea you're doing. That's a good one. John?
I don't know. One thing that does take an amount of time that maybe people don't consider is just because they wouldn't know. They probably hear it and can identify it. But when we play live worship songs, the thing that keeps us together is what is known as a click track. It's just a metronome for our band and musicians to stay together. With that, you have a lot of freedom to include some other things that help kind of beef up the sound. So like loops or like organ pads or just things of instruments that we don't necessarily have on the platform in the moment that we play along with. And to be honest, like every recording artist is going to be doing that on their tours. Like, it's just something that they do to kind of beef up the sound, so you don't have to have 15 people on the platform.
Right.
And for us, it's when we don't have those people as far as a volunteer source. And so even just something as simple as the loop, but that takes a good chunk of time to line that up week after week, so that when we play on Sunday, we're locked in 100% as a band. And so that'd be probably something nobody would think about nor expect, I guess.
And it's incredibly important.
It's very important. Yeah. And it's in some ways you feel like, oh man, you're tied to this click track now. In a lot of ways it's very liberating, because I'm not having to turn around and give a downbeat, and I'm not having to speed the band up if we started too slow. And that allows me to focus on doing more like verbal transitions and just getting our people engaged, so that our band doesn't have to rely on cues from me.
Right. And as your third string drummer on occasion, it's one of my favorite things is that click track. So.
What string am I again on what I do?
Just trying to think of something creative, but
I'm pretty deep. I haven't gotten called up yet. But.
Yeah, you're in the minor league still. Yeah. Oh, how funny. Well, that wraps it up for another episode of the 412 podcast. As always, thank you so much for joining us for another episode. And if you ever have any questions about FBC Mustang, go to fbcmustang.org. You should be able to find all the information there. If not, feel free to give us a call anytime. We will see you next time on the 412 podcast.